session. Brad?
Well, I think the first thing we have to have is candid, honest leadership. Mr. Mayor, as I've heard you say many a time, you know, a campaign is a conversation with the people. You know, we need to lay forward what the problems are, very straightforward and very forthrightly. We did that in the 2010 election, and we took control of the state legislature for the first time since 1869. That's a long time to be in the wilderness. And when we took control, number one, we did what we said we were going to do, because that's what we campaigned on. We said that we weren't going to raise taxes. We didn't. We said we were going to balance the budget. We did. We said we were going to cut spending. We did. We said we were going to go after the liberal bureaucracies and cut the waste and the bureaucracy and the red tape that's hindering small business. And we did. We said we were going to pass medical malpractice reform so that our doctors could focus on practicing medicine rather than worrying about hiring an attorney. We did. We said we were going to pass tort reform to help business. We did. So it all comes down to having that candid conversation with the American people, having that give and take. You know, we all come to our conclusions based on the best information we have at hand, plus our own life experiences. None of us know everything. You know, we need to listen to the American people. And the American people also need to know the facts. They need to know the facts about the future solvency of Social Security and Medicare. They need to know the facts about what a $16 trillion debt is going to do for their children, the harm it's going to create, and why we must cut spending. If we have that kind of candid conversation, and then when elected, if we stick to our guns and do what is right, we'll be able to move forward and turn this country around.
Second Chronicles 7:14 tells us that we need to humble ourselves, that we need to call out His name, that we need to pray. Friends, we have a long road. We have a long road. It starts with us being active in our communities. It starts with you getting one more friend out to the polls on something like a marriage amendment. It starts with you getting one more friend to join you and making phone calls to get conservative candidates elected, whether it's David or I. Get behind the campaign and push. And then when you're online at the grocery store, you get involved. I was in Clinton, and I had a black pastor tell me, you know, I voted for Ronald Reagan. I've been speaking in more groups, more diversified audiences than you can imagine. Every day, we're on the road. Sometimes 3 breakfasts a day, can't you tell? But you know what? It's worth it. When you believe that this country is worth dying for, then you believe that it's worth living for, and you start acting that way. And you start engaging people, you start evangelizing. You start sharing a message about the fact that our real debt isn't even $15 trillion. That's the secured debt that you know about. Our real debt is $60 trillion. The unfunded mandate of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, $60 trillion. That's the entire global economy. That's the conversation that we need to be happening. Leadership is having those tough conversations. Thank you.
Well, I think the state government's pretty good. I think there is a lot of dids there, but I think there's a whole lot of didn'ts on the federal level. And you're talking about people that are getting into our act and messing us up, and they're trying to, you know, to steal our power. I'll irritate Ilario now. I think it takes somebody from North Carolina. I feel like I've come home. My father went to Texas in 1910. I came back in 1984, but the family had been there for 200 years before he went to Texas. So I'm just kind of coming back after a little jaunt. So I think it takes somebody from North Carolina to straighten this thing out. But you've got to realize, you talk about entitlements and this, that, and the other. If people don't understand the Federal Reserve, that is individuals. They are charging the taxpayers $400 billion a year to loan us our own money. So I could go on, but I have a red card, so I got to shut up.
Mr. Mayor, yes, sir.
Mr. Crow, when I was burying boys in Iraq, I never asked them what state they came from. Thank you.
I'm going to work on that and come up with something clever.
Well, I tell you what, I watched the national debate and I'm stuck on this one is better than the national. Whenever we see them, they'll know who they are and they'll know they're from North Carolina. How about that?
One way or another.
You know, that was something, again, I get in trouble mentioning Senator Helms, but Senator Helms, John Cooper called me back in 1984. It appeared that Mr. Hunt was going to be. And it just so happened, you know, that it was looking bad. And he said, you need to get out and go to work. And I said, well, I will. I said, you really think it's that important? And he said, yeah, I do. Well, the next day I was eating in this restaurant, and the guy that was sitting next to me said, you know, we really need to go to work for Senator Helms. I said, why? He said, well, do you know who the Senator of Arizona is? He said, no. He said, you can be sure they know who our senator is. I think when we send one of these men to Washington, they'll know who our congressman is. What do you think about that? Ask questions. And Mr. Crow, I agree with you. It's hard to talk about budget plans. But I have followed one. And it appears to me that it's so simple, yet it can't be enacted. And it's, to some degree, has the same broad support, from what I hear, that the Bowles-Simpson plan did, even though the president wouldn't even support his own commission. But the McPenney plan, which is a plan to get us the congressman down in Florida, and I can look and see y'all don't go to that question, but anyway. So I'll leave that one alone. But I guess the question I got is this. That plan, for anybody that's not familiar with it, just simply says that we will cut the budget that was presented in 2006 by 1 penny. 1 penny. 1%. And hold it at that level and cut 1% a year for 5 years, and at one time we'll have a balanced budget. We're talking about 1 penny. And so we'll go back, and the last question is this. You told us how we're going to get there and what we're going to do. Can we actually, in this nation, get there when we can't agree on 1 penny? Can we? Mr. Crow, you're the first man up.
I am an optimistic person.